I want you in just a moment. Hey, we're on Facebook Live.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I'm Eliza Willem Robinson, and we're going to take a moment to just share this out and about. If you are joining us, I would love it for you to share. And we are on Zoom with Steve and Nancy and Becky. So if you happen to be on Facebook Live, if you would just pop in a hello and where you're from, and if you want to, share it out. So I'm going to just put it today on the group, falling into ease, and I'm going to put it on the Divine Awakening page. So we've got it out 2 places here. And we're almost there. And we're going to start tonight. It's Easter. Happy Easter, everybody. Happy Easter.
There's Steve.
There's Steve. There's Nancy. Yeah.
Nancy.
Live now. That's Becky from Arkansas, who's going to come out
Becky
next week.
From Arkansas.
Hi.
What town are you in Arkansas?
Newark.
Where is it?
Newark. That's why I never know where it is. It's out.
What's it near?
Nothing.
It's I'm about 15, 20 minutes in between Newport. I'm halfway in between Newport and Batesville.
There you go.
All right, so let me kick this off. So we are live on Facebook. So far we have 1 person watching. It's probably Nancy.
No, I'm not yet.
Oh, you're not there. Okay, well, we have 1 person watching. Oh, it's Steve. That's great. So this is Sunday evening weekly inspirational insight. Today happens to be Easter. And so happy Easter, everybody. And I'm going to kick off tonight. I have a special guest, and the special guest is the very memorable. Oh, you guys on Zoom, if you could mute. Yeah, thanks, because otherwise we get it coming back and forth. Tonight we're talking about Easter and the quantum physics, but because it's Easter, I wanted to invite my beloved Rob Robinson, Reverend Rob Robinson, into our group to tell my most favorite Easter, I'm going to say story, but read joke. My favorite Easter story of all time. So I want you to go ahead and take my chair so that, because you're
no pressure here.
You're here. So this is Rob.
No pressure
Everybody
here.
Meet Rob. Say hi.
Hi, everybody.
And you're on Zoom, and you're also live on Facebook.
So who do I look at this camera?
Look between here and here.
Oh, God. Hey, everybody. Well, so we got an opportunity to do church today up in Payson, Arizona. And a few years ago, I ran across a little story about that relates to Easter. So I thought Eliza asked me to share it, but it's a real story about a lady who was on her way to Easter sunrise service. And she was driving down the country road. It was at dark. And of course, she was trying to get there before the sunrise service. And what happened was she was driving down the road. She noticed there was a car off to the side of the road. And she slowed down. And she saw the driver out in front of the car leaning over the Easter bunny. And he had hit the Easter bunny and killed it. And so he was pretty upset. And he was weeping, and she came back to console him. And there was Easter eggs everywhere. The basket was in the middle of the street, and the poor Easter bunny was dead out in front of his car. So he was having a tough time with that, feeling remorseful that he had killed the Easter bunny with his car. It was an accident. So she put her arm around him, gave him a big hug. She says, you know, I might be able to help you. So she walked back to her car and opened up the trunk and pulled out a spray can. And she came back to the Easter bunny and she sprayed that Easter bunny down, and emptied it, like this, and emptied the whole can on the Easter bunny. And all of a sudden, the bunny opened up his eyes, looked around, started picking up the Easter eggs, putting them back in the basket, and he hopped across the street, and he turned back and looked at him, and then he waved. I thought, well, that's kind of strange.
The way where they can see you on Facebook.
So they can't.
You can see.
So the Easter bunny was waving at him, and then they just kind of stared at it. It went another 20 feet, turned back, waved again. So finally, the man said to the lady, "What?" And it was a miracle. And he said, "What the heck did you have? What did you spray that Easter bunny with to bring it back to life?" So she held up the can. She says, "Well, hairspray." And then she goes, She read the bottle, and the bottle said, restores life to dead hair and promotes permanent wave. That's all I know.
And they're all on Zoom. They're all muted, so you can't hear them laughing and clapping for you.
Right.
Oh, there we go. Steve unmuted himself for you.
So then in the service, through the service, every 5 minutes, I sprayed the congregation down a little bit, and then we just spent the whole day waving at each other. Bye.
So that kicks off. Yes, you were on Facebook Live.
Oh, great.
So that kicks off our Easter on the quantum physics moment. And we have live on the computer next to the Zoom, and it's time delayed by like 38 seconds. So it's very strange too. Anyway, if you're catching live, I see some people are on live. So I got laugh and groan at that joke. LOL, laugh out loud, love it. If you are on Facebook, just type a hello, let us know who's watching and where you're watching from. So thank goodness Easter Bunny is revived. And now we know how. There we go. Oh, there we go. What's that say? Becky's got us, she's showing us something. Can't quite see it.
I was wondering if I could share this story.
Well, you know what, because we're Facebook Live and they can't hear you or see you, but yes, as soon as we turn off live, I would love for you to share that. But because I've got two machines going, they wouldn't be able to, I would just be staring at you. So thank you for asking, and we'll come back. So now Becky has a story, so join us on Zoom and you'll get that story too. Okay, now I have to center. I have to allow my energy to really just drop. Today is Easter, and I have been a minister for many years, 18 years, and Easter is a really sacred moment. And as I've been doing non-church, you know, the last 3 years, not really in a pulpit, so to speak, not really in a church ministry, so to speak, I've really leaned out, expanded out beyond the walls of a ministry. And I was thinking about all the things that I'm really working with right now and laying my new thought, metaphysical interpretation of Easter onto and underneath my quantum physics learning, my quantum field experiences. And I was really thinking about the resurrection, of course. And the thing is, we all want the resurrection, but we don't want to go through the crucifixion, right? Right? And we think of the crucifixion as really what Jesus experienced, as really being hung up on the cross, as really being killed, as really being, you know, first betrayed and denied and arrested and tried again and tried again and tried again based on the stories, and then actually crucified, actually hung on the cross. But not for naught, because the story doesn't end with the crucifixion. In fact, the story only begins with the crucifixion. And so they take him down, they put him in a tomb, and 3 days, Easter morning, this is a celebration of today, he is risen, he is resurrected. So what I wanted to play with a little bit today was making that story extremely personal. So I invite you to think about the places, the times in your life, and maybe it's even currently, where you are experiencing a challenge, a crucifixion, so to speak. I've had more than one crucifixion experience. Some of them are extremely painful. I'm not going to really talk about them tonight, but think about your own. But even beyond that, lean into what it will be, what it is to be resurrected. So what are those dreams that you have? What is that heart's desire? Maybe it's to build the business, or maybe it's to get, you know, break through that financial barrier, or maybe it's to finally find that love of your life, or maybe it's a health issue. You know, we all have something Sometimes it's small, sometimes it's huge. It doesn't matter what it is, because that something really is the soul, our soul, growing. Because there is always what Hildegard of Bingham says, the green growing edges of your consciousness. There's always an edge. We talk about getting out of the box. Well, we can get out of the box all day long, but within about a minute or two, we have a new box. But what is that edge that we stand on? The edge of expression, the edge of growth, the edge of our consciousness. And when we're at the edge, there's a barrier, a border. One of my first teachers, Dr. Maria Namath, called it trouble at the border. But there is a place, it's actually a physical as well as emotional and consciousness and subconscious point of what we know to what we don't know. There is an edge there. So the resurrection is taking us beyond that edge. And often at that trouble at the border spot, it feels like we're being crucified. So I've been talking the last few weeks about Joe Dispenza's book, and it's called, or the one I'm reading is called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And the material I was studying this week, continuing really from what we talked about last Sunday night, right here on this live, is when we are having a breakthrough, when we are choosing a new vibration, when we are choosing a new thought, when we are choosing a new vision that is different than the habit that we have of being ourselves. The habit, Joe Dispenza in this particular book talks about guilt as the habit, but we can use anything. That habit becomes so ingrained in our body that our body wants to rule our thoughts. That's backwards. So when we have a thought, a divine thought, and we lean into the vibration of that divine thought, and we allow ourselves to be expanded, risen, rising up, there is a natural and normal point where everything else is going to go like your whole body will go, no, 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 I like guilt. Guilt is familiar. Lack is familiar. Playing small is familiar. I need to keep you safe. And it's going to contract. We don't have to let it. That's the crucifixion. The crucifixion can be quite simple when we surrender. It doesn't have to be that we're hung up on the cross with nails in our hands and thorns on our head and spears in our sides. Sometimes in my past, it's felt like that. But it doesn't have to be that way, because when we know what our soul impulse is for Jesus, right? It's Easter for Jesus. It was to bring new life to the world, to bring a new way of being. It was his to do, to be killed, to be crucified so that he could rise again, to make a point for his life, for his teaching. And that point is life is eternal. And that point is the Father is within. And that point is love. And so those, in my opinion, were his three basic teachings. And because he was crucified, not even necessarily he had to be, but because he was, do you feel the difference? Because he was, he could use that for a greater good, for a greater teaching, for a greater impact on the world. So whatever it is you're facing right now, whatever it is you're standing in, if you can get your awareness beyond where you are. Like right now, I'm stuck and blah, 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 blah. And yet I know in my heart and soul and being that there's more. And so when I can bring my thought to my goal, my vision, my intention, and bring my vibration up to meet, bring my intention into a high vibration, and we're bypassing some of the crucifixion. Then we're holding that space. And then the crucifixion or the trouble at the border can be a simple notice. It's like, wow, my body wants to go back into the pattern. Wow, my body, but the body's not supposed to be in charge. The heart, the brain of the heart is supposed to be in charge. So then we can rewire, and it takes a rewiring then that we then experience. our intention, our resurrection. So crucifixion, basically in New Thought, in metaphysical interpretation, is the crossing out of false beliefs, the crossing out of lack, of limitation, of obstacles. In my work with my clients, it's dissolving and dismantling those lifelong limiting patterns. It's crushing and dissolving and dismantling the invisible glass ceiling so that we can then lean into a greater awareness of our Christ potential. Christ potential, we talk about the Christ potential, but the Christ potential is our divinity, it is our spiritual nature, it is our soul, it is our high self, it is our essence. Any of those words work. So whatever works for you, we lean into that truth of our being. And the truth of our being is then freed from limitation. That is the resurrection. Freed from. The resurrection is new life, it's new birth. Really even Easter, but was long before Christianity, with the goddess Esther and the celebration of spring and the end of the dark and the beginning of the sprouts, beginning to see the daffodils and the bunny rabbits and the Easter eggs, and you know they get kind of all mixed up in there. But even pre-Christianity, we were celebrating this time of year rebirth, remembering, reigniting, replenishing, refreshing, starting again. It's like at the first of the year, we get to wipe the slate clean so that we can start again. We've come through winter, we've planted our seeds, so we're beginning to see the sprouts of what we've been planting the last quarter, or however long it's been for you. And so in the quantum, Easter in the quantum field is the crucifixion is simply noticing what does not work. The resurrection, now there's a point between the crucifixion and the resurrection, right? There's that 3 days in the tomb. That's like coming from particle, being crucified on the cross. This is happening into the quantum field. For Jesus, he left the body from the particle to the wave. And then on Easter morning, we celebrate the resurrection. It's like, oh, there I am. Oh, there I am. So it's like this. I'll use myself as an example with my dream right now, right? My dream is to be globally recognized as a New York Times bestselling author and internationally acclaimed as a spiritual teacher. I can't believe I said that on Facebook Live. But that's really deep, deep within me. And I have all this stuff running through my brain about, I don't really want to work that hard. And, my husband's retired and I have a really good life. And do I really want to do that? That's all the noise. And the noise is really covering up a fear. And the fear is what gets to be crucified. Well, number one, I'm fearful of being crucified, right? From karmic and past life, and like, well, I don't want to do that. Why would I ever want to do that, right? I've been in the public eye for 18 years, small public eye, and that's enough. Why would I ever want to go global and put myself out like that? But that's just the thought. But when I line up with my high vibration, like when I connect with that which is spirit within me and I lay that intention into it, I go, yes, yes. No, danger, 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 danger. That part, the egoic part, the false belief part, the patterns is being crucified. As it's being crucified, it doesn't have to be traumatic. It can be dissolved, in order to make space for more light, for more love, for more grace, for more peace, for more divinity, more spirit. And so Easter is a symbolic moment, but also a very demonstratable moment of using the quantum field. There's so much more I could say about that, but I think I feel like I've said enough about that tonight. And what I'd really love to do is jump on over into our community conversation. So I just jumped over into my live page. So we've got some people who are watching. So if you are here, it looks like Debbie and Karen and Donna and who else can I see here? Teresa and Cindy. If you're still here, if you are still watching, just post a hello. And you're welcome to join us over in community conversation. And so that's on the Zoom. I posted that Zoom link. So taking a moment to kind of wrap this up, inviting you over to the conversation. Here's my question for you. Here's my question for you very personally. What is that growing edge? What is that place that has felt like it's been your glass ceiling? Like you can go and go and go and go and then bump. And every time you get there, something happens. Right? Every time you move into greater success, something happens where it feels like you backslide. Or every time that you're like really breathing into abundance and then all this financial stuff happens. Or every time like I'm going to find love this time and then something happens. That edge, we all have it. That green growing edge. Every time you get there, what is it? The truth is, for most of us, most of the time, it's a different flavor of the same thing. And so what is that thing? And would you be willing this Easter, which is today, to allow that thing to be transcended, to be evolved, to be dismantled, to be crucified even? In order for you to break through that barrier and come into a greater truth, a greater expression of who you're here to be. In unity, and you thought we'd talk about awakening, rebirthing that Christ presence within us. In my work, we're really about igniting the essence of who we are, being in relationship with that deeper essence. We're leaning into the quantum field of who we are becoming. So the question again is, what is that thing for you? And are you willing to let it go? Are you willing to surrender it because you can? Because there's a big energetic this weekend on the planet. If you are, come join the conversation. If you need support, contact me, message me, comment me in the live, and I will support you in that. And you don't have to do it alone. The truth is you can't do it alone. And so happy Easter to everybody. Hope you had a glorious weekend. And I am Eliza Bloom Robinson. I am Reveliza, and we are revelizing your life by transforming, by shifting your thought and your vibration. And just one more quick little shout out. If you're still on live, we still have a spot left in the Sedona experience, which is coming up very soon, less than 2 weeks. So we invite you to join us for that. I'm going to shut down the live and say see you next time. Get on the notifications so that every time we go live, you could be notified and follow us, and would love to see you in the community conversation. All right. Much love, everyone.